Christmas Eve is a time that brings a lot of memories to me. Christmas in general is just flooded with memories, especially childhood memories, I think. That seemed like a magical time, like Christmas. I just couldn't wait to wake up Christmas morning and see what Christmas was going to be for my family and for me. This was before I was the card sender, the baker, the decorator, the Christmas shopper, and wrapper, okay? It seemed magical when my mother did it for us, and really special. When I was around 10 years old, I was curious about my family's heritage, and I asked my mother what Christmas had been like when she was a little girl. And I was pretty surprised at how lean Christmas was in her description. I suppose I shouldn't have been very surprised because she was born between the world wars. She was also born at a time, so she was just a little girl when the Great Depression hit. But it was pretty lean indeed. In fact, their family just each got a stocking, and in the stocking, they were given crayons or pencils, an orange, which was a real treat before Wegmans had oranges 12 months of the year, nuts and hard candy, and sometimes a coin, and a new toothbrush, I should add, because of the hard candy, I suppose. So she said that where they lived was way out in the country. A few of you will know when I say Peacock Hill outside of Angelica, but that's where my grandparents lived, and in fact, it was so far removed from the town that when the new road came through, they cut off the road to get there. You can't even get there anymore. So they knew that they lived far from the other kids in town, and when they would ask the other children what they got for Christmas, those kids got things that sounded really exciting to them. So they hatched a plan that they would pretend what they got for Christmas, and they would match their stories. And when they went to school and kids asked what they got for Christmas, they would all say sleds, or they would say roller skates or ice skates. They made up their gifts, and they all agreed on it. And in fact, my uncles Arling and Roy decided that they'd tell people that they actually got a lot of money in their stocking. So they took nails out of my grandfather's work shed and put them in their pockets and jingled their change. Until my grandmother found out why they were wearing premature holes in the only good school pants they had. It struck me as sad to think of children pretending to have received gifts that they really didn't pretend. And I think maybe my mother told me the reality of that to make our family, my siblings and myself, very grateful for what we did receive and the sacrifices they made for us. And it did that for me. But here we are on Christmas Eve, and the world outside, and maybe some even inside the church, hear about peace on earth, goodwill toward those whom God favors, to humanity, and joy unbounded and wonder. And maybe we feel like we're denying the reality of what we don't have, and we're pretending we've received something that we didn't get, or even maybe that we dared to hope for. The popular Christmas carols that we love to sing, and some of them that we've sung tonight even, ring out with joy and peace and perfect fellowship, and it sounds so wonderful. But then we go home and turn on the news cycles, and we hear about our world that is filled with war and tragedy and sadness and brokenness, and these things not only on a world stage, but in our closer circles, in our communities, our families, even in our churches sometimes. And to fill the void, the world, especially advertising in the world, tells us what would make for a perfect Christmas, what would make us perfectly happy, perfectly joyful. And there's 25 best gifts for her and 25 best gifts for him, and for children, the latest toys. And they tell you what would make you really happy, maybe because they feel the sting of what is not yet. The perfect holiday menu in 100 easy steps. The most beautiful Christmas decorations with 5 hands. How to schedule holiday expectations without losing your sanity or your home to foreclosure. I mean, these are important things that the world is trying to tell us about, because the world doesn't know that we really did receive a gift. We really, really did receive a gift. We're not here colluding together like poor, giftless children to create our own version of joy and peace. That's the message we so often hear on holiday movies, and Hallmark especially. If it would just be perfect, you'd be happy. If I didn't believe there was something better and more precious, I couldn't stand here before you with integrity as a pastor. But likewise, if I sugarcoat Christmas and pretend that there is no tension between the angel's message to the shepherds and the lived realities of our world, their world, and ours too, then I would also not have integrity. And so I'd like you to consider with me the peace and the joy of Christmas as we find it in the scripture. First, what the nature of these 2 gifts are and how they were present in Jesus, even in his birth and infancy. And then I would like to consider, what is our response? How do we notice the responses in the nativity narratives, and how do we learn appropriately how to do life-giving, life-altering responses to this gift, this miraculous gift that we've been given? Without fanfare, it was given. Without extravagance, without advertising, it was given. So first, the nature of peace and joy. Our own sense of peace has been skewed by our lived experiences, and that has always been the case throughout human history. Peace has been conceived as the lowest common denominator, the absence of overt hostilities, but the hatred that fueled those hostilities, the wars and conflicts, the greed, those things often still exist. Jesus brings a peace that is not negotiated by ceasefires or creating boundaries on a map to separate peoples who harbor ill feelings toward their earthly neighbors. And it was not a peace like the famous Pax Romana, the Roman peace of the time, that was really enforced by violence. Anyone who dared rise up against Roman occupation was swiftly executed, and that was called keeping the peace. But it was violent. It was violent indeed. God's gift of this child meant peace that was all-encompassing, a peace with God where there was a great chasm before, a peace with others, a peace with creation, and a peace within, a wholeness that is peace. And a child would lead the way. This baby ushered in a new age, a new possibility of peace. And with that peace, the joy that comes from all being set right again, back to God's original design. God sent peace to us, not through power or might, diplomatic strategies or military means. God's peace came to us away from the seats of power, amidst common, obedient people, servants of God. And the power displayed was vulnerability and a willingness to live in our world of pain and brokenness and questions and doubt, the power of love. The responses we see in the narrative are still appropriate responses from all of us. The shepherds hurry to see what the angels have told them about, and just as Jesus was born in an unexpectedly humble setting, the news was first shared with shepherds, the lowest rung in society at that time. This message is for everyone. Notice that they are unnamed. We don't know one name of one shepherd. It was for all, and it came that way. Not one person named or a group of people named. They were unnamed. They were nobodies in their society, and yet, uniquely, God sent messengers to them to tell them even they were included. They had not been looking for stars in the sky like the Magi. They had not been studying the scriptures to see exactly what the Messiah was going to do and where the Messiah was going to be found. They just were doing what they were called to do, being where they were called to be. And angels burst on the scene in the night sky, and they go with haste. They hurry to see. And when they see, they share with Mary and Joseph what they've been told. And then they return to their lives and their livelihood again. But they're telling the story this time as they go, praising God in wonder and joy. They proclaim the message even though they didn't know the full extent of what the gift meant to them or would mean to the world. That's important because none of us, with any degree, how much you have studied, none of us know the full extent of that gift, but they told what they knew. And Mary treasured their words and pondered what they might mean in her heart. She treasured the testimony of others, even others who were unlikely sources of revelation. And she pondered what this might mean in her heart, in her life. Mary, who had been visited by Gabriel, the angel, about her place in God's plan. Mary, who was pregnant miraculously with a child, a miraculous conception. But understanding that God was speaking to others about her to bring all this about. God spoke to Joseph a message, to Elizabeth, her cousin, and now God is speaking even to the shepherds out in the field who bring her confirmation of what this child is. And she accepts that confirmation. She tries to understand what God is doing, even in this plan that she's an integral part of. Pastor Katie preached this morning in Advent 4 that Mary had questions and voiced them to Gabriel, the messenger angel. Mary still has questions in this narrative. She has questions about the plan of salvation that is unveiling before her eyes, but she doesn't see the whole story. And she takes in the testimonies of others and treasures them, even while she considers what it all means. We are not like children here. We're not pretending that we've received gifts. We have received a gift. The gift has been given, God incarnate among us. And yet, we're still unwrapping all that the gift of Jesus is to us and to the world and to the whole cosmos. It only happens every 4 years or every few years. Not 4, I misread my notes. Every few years, when Advent 4 happens in the morning and then we come back for Christmas Eve at night, it only happens every few years that there's 4 church services in one day. And it only happens every few years when we look this tired and yet are still enthusiastic about what God has done. It's fitting, though. It's fitting because Advent is this time of yet now and not yet. And Christmas is that too. We have this gift of Christ given to us, and yet truly we, like the shepherds, are proclaiming what we only partially know. And we, like Mary, are trying to ponder what this means in our life and what this means for the world. We're in this time between. We deeply long for the culmination of the gift when Jesus comes again and ushers in God's reign. But until then, we proclaim what we know of him and experience along with the shepherds whose lives were touched by God, including them into the message. There was so much they didn't yet see, but they proclaimed as far as the gift was unwrapped before them. We'll make space to ponder here too, to wonder what this gift means for us, like Mary did. Light for the darkness, peace for our sadness, courage for our fear. Ponder that. Ponder that gift. Dear ones, we are not children with no gifts, with no one who remembers us or cares about us. We are gifted with an indescribable gift, the gift of Jesus, our peace on earth, our joy on earth, our companion through this journey. We just need to keep unwrapping. I hope when you unwrap your gifts tomorrow, you do it slowly and you think about unwrapping Jesus into your life.